Good morning, everyone. My name is Juliette Bender, and I'm today going to present you with the Customised Forms. So thank you very much for attending today's webinar, and I hope you really find this useful and appreciate what I can show you today. Okay. So the duration of this webinar will be approximately 30 minutes. Now my microphone is turned on, however everyone else has been automatically muted. Your speakers must be turned on to hear this webinar. So if you haven't done that so already, make sure that they are turned on and the volume is up. Any questions that you might have will be taken during the webinar if you prefer, or at the end of the webinar session, I will be holding a Q&A time. So whenever you would like to ask a question, just please place that question into the chat box and select send. So today's webinar, what we will learn: how to create a form to suit your clients and your business. We'll also be looking at how to use this feature to its full potential, the benefits of having this handy tool available to you for your business so that you can then collect up-to-date client agreements and data and information for your business. So what are the customised forms? So the customised forms is the newest tool we have to shortcuts. They allow you to collect signed formal agreements and key information, for example, allergies, medical conditions, things like that. You can build your own form yourself for max personalisation. And most of all, you'll be able to ask what you need from the client. So how do we make a customised form? So the first thing that you need to make sure that you have organised with the customer care team is that you are on the Elevate package. If you're not on the Elevate package for your shortcuts, you'll need to speak with customer care so that you can discuss upgrading to that package, which would allow you access to create and utilise the customised forms. If you already have the Elevate package, you will already have this feature available through your Shortcuts online console. So let's take a look at how we would set up a customised form. So I'm just opening up the console, Shortcuts online console login screen. I'm going to enter in my login details to open up my account and select login. Okay, so this is your Shortcuts online console start page or home screen. Towards the bottom right hand corner of this home screen, you'll see that you'll have a client information icon or tile. Select on that tile to enter into the client information area. So once you've selected on the tile, if you are a part of a multi-site company, you will have your sites listed, okay, in this main screen. But to create a form, you don't need to go into each of those sites to create the form. The form is a company form. Okay, so any customized consultation form would be available for any of your sites that you have underneath that company. Okay, so to open up the customized form area, on the right hand side you will see a navigation panel, and one of those options is forms. So select on that forms button. So now that I've selected on the forms button or tab, you will see in my screen that I have the form selection screen displaying. So here are some forms that I've actually created before, previously, to use within my business. But I'm going to show you how to create a form from scratch. Okay, so to start off your creation, select the button that you see on the left-hand side, Create a Form. Okay, so there are a few things that you need to set up and obviously configure for your form to be available and obviously ready for your business and your clients to start using. The first thing you need to do is create a form name. So this could be an agreement form, so you might need a sign-off for a certain treatment, okay? Or it could just be simply a consultation form, okay? So instead of collecting general personalised data or fields that you would normally collect using the standard CIC forms, for example, the first name, last name, given name, middle name, birth date, address, you can create this form to be more customised to your business, including those personal details. So you might like to include, for maybe the hair industry, how do you feel, what do you feel your hair type is? Okay, is it normal, oily, dry? For a beauty industry or spa industry, you might want to create this form so that it's asking specific questions about the skin type or even massage, the firmness, things like that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a sign-off or an agreement form that you create in here. It could be a very own business personalised or company personalised consultation form. Okay, so the end result is that this is going to be digital. It's going to be all online. You'll be using your iPads or tablets in the salon or in the business, and then the clients would be using that device and then entering the data in so that you can collect that information. Okay, so we're trying to eliminate the paper forms. We're trying to eliminate staff having to then re-enter the information from the paper forms back into shortcuts. Okay, so let's start here with our form name. So I'm going to create this consultation form. I'm going to keep it very generic for us. Okay. Okay, so if you're ready for this form while you're creating it to be active and visible, just in case you are already using the CICs, the general client information forms online, this would become available in the list of options that your staff are using or selecting for the client to fill out. So just be aware of that if you are currently using just our client information forms, online CICs as we call it, that this would be available as soon as you tick this active checkbox. Okay, so in preparation or while you're developing this form, I'd probably recommend to not tick this active as yet, but make sure that once you're completed and you're happy with this form you've created, come back and make sure that's active. Okay. Okay, so the next question is, are we retaining the history? Okay, so store a record of this form each time a client completes it. In most cases, you should be selecting yes, because every time a client completes this form, you obviously want to be able to refer back to it, especially if it's an agreement form or a sign-off form. Okay, so if we don't tick this box off, just say we have to get the clients to complete a form every 6 months or every 3 months or even every time they visit, then this information will not be saved each time they visit for you to refer back to or for the staff to pull that up again to review. Okay, so it's very important that that checkbox is ticked in most cases. Now, our renewal frequency is our next question. So choose how often this form needs to be updated for each client. Okay, so this is each client on the whole that we have to think about. So is it a form that we only want them to complete once only? So in this case, it might be, this is just your personalised customer consultation form that you only want them to complete if they're a new client to the business. Okay, so if that's the case, you would select that once only option. Okay, is it a form though that they need to complete every time they visit? So in cases where it might be, we're talking more about laser treatments or injectable treatments, we need to make sure that we collect information every time they visit. Have they been out into the sun? Have they changed any medication? Things like that. So if it's a consultation form that's specifically for those areas in general, we probably want the client to complete this form every time they visit. Okay. Otherwise, you do have that option of specifying a period. Okay, so every let's say 3 months. Okay, so, or if we want to go with 6 months, because a lot might have changed in 6 months. Okay, so obviously with our seasonal changes as well, our hair colour changes naturally, our skin tone changes because of the sun or no sun. So you might want to get clients to refresh their information for you every 6 months. Okay, and as you can see, we can make that longer as well. So there's no limit on how often or what month you set there. Okay. All right, so next is the employee review option. So choose whether employees need to review and accept the information entered by this client before it is then saved. Okay, so this setting only applies to client entry in the online CICs. Okay, so for example, the client fills out their information, okay, using the iPad or the tablet device. They then hit or select the Done button to save their information that they've entered. That device then gets handed back to the stylist or the therapist or the staff member. And then that staff member would then need to review that information before that form is completely saved and stored in their client history. Okay, so it's like a review before that form is then saved, because if the technician or the therapist or the stylist, whoever is reviewing this, needs to ask any questions about the client's answers, then if it's possible, they might need to review or edit some of those answers with the client or discuss that with them. Okay, so it allows your staff members to review that information before proceeding with the treatment. Okay. So you may find that important for the employees or your staff to review it. Otherwise, you may not, and you just select no, because that's fine. As long as we collect the information from the client that is required on that form and they've completed all the mandatory fields, we're happy for that to be saved, and then the therapist or your staff member can go back and review that at any time if necessary. Okay. Okay, so now that we've configured our form settings, we now need to create the form. Okay, so as you can see here on the left-hand side, you've got a little image of an iPad device as such, so that you can sort of visualize how this form is going to appear while you're creating it on one of these devices. The best way to take a look and review how your form looks and feels, obviously grab your device and then open up your client information on that device and then select the form to review it. Okay. So to create a form, we have shortcuts client fields. Okay, so any of these fields here on the right that you select are fields that would be entered back into shortcuts automatically for you. So they would update the information you have on an existing client in your database. Okay, so what you need to do to add your fields into the layout screen is just select on the field. Okay, so I'm just selecting on the fields that I would like the client to complete. Okay, and then that's adding it into the layout form on the left. So you can always add in gender, birth date and birth month. Okay, you might like to perform some marketing as well. So you might like to know who the clients prefer as an employee and target particular clients based on a preferred employee if you're wanting to maybe boost that employee's trade, send a discount or a promotion out to those clients that prefer that employee. If that is not a priority for you, for your business, to remove that option if you have selected it to be in that layout, notice on the left-hand side on the layout screen, you do have a cross on the right-hand corner of that table or that field. So to remove that option out, just select the cross. Okay. If you've completed adding in all your fields, but you didn't add them in the order that you would like, you can still change the order of the fields that appear, okay, in the layout screen. So to do that, just select on the field that you would like to reorder. I need to add the email in. Okay, so maybe we need this or would like this email address underneath the contact numbers up the top here. So all I need to do is make sure that my email field is selected on the left, and you would select that up arrow on the top right hand corner of that field as well. Okay, so that moves it up, and notice how there is now a field below it, the birth month field. I can actually move that back down again if I would like to. Okay, so I don't need to remove my fields out that I've entered in. I can just manage where my fields are placed once I'm in there. Okay, so I'm going to move now my address field down as well. Okay. So I'm just adding in my little postcode, my suburb, and my state. Okay. So once you've completed adding in your, I suppose, shortcuts client fields, or you've completed that section, you can then mark off what fields are mandatory as well. So if you definitely would like the client to complete or enter in their first name, select that field, and then down the bottom towards the right hand side, you'll notice that you can select mandatory down there. Okay, so that adds your red asterisk next to that field so that it marks it as being a mandatory field to complete. Okay, so when you're marking off a phone number as well, just remember that not always do clients like to provide phone numbers or a mobile, so you may not want to mark any of those fields as mandatory, or you might like to mark at least the home phone number as mandatory, so it gives them the option of entering in a mobile number or not. Okay, but at least they would have to enter, you know, some landline. Again, if they don't have a landline and that field is marked, it's better for them to place a 0 in that field so that that doesn't then send any errors to your SMS confirmations if you're using that feature. Okay. So you can also, so once you've finished marking off your mandatory fields, you can also change the label position. So notice with my first name field how the entry field, okay, so where the clients would enter the data, is sitting to the right or beside the name of that field. Down the bottom to the right, I can actually select above the field, okay, so that the name of that field sits above their entry. Okay, so if you would like that look, you can just select on the table and change it to suit. Okay. Again, you might want to review this on the actual device before you make your final decision about whether you would like the client entry field to be sitting above the question or beside the question. Okay. Excellent. So there are your shortcuts client fields. Okay. Now, underneath the extra form fields tab, when you expand that section out by selecting on it on the right hand side there, okay, you'll notice additional options that you can add into this form. So you can add in things like headings, a date to be entered, a question with the single line text attached to it. You've also got a question with multiple line text. You've just got a field where you can just display some text, multiple choice, numbers, checkboxes, single choice, drop down list, and then your terms and conditions. Okay, so these are the custom fields as such, because you can add whatever you would like in here. So if I was to select the heading, for example, okay, so I would like the heading to go underneath the birth month because now I want to ask the client about some medical conditions. So I'm going to select heading, okay, which would place that field that I've just selected underneath the birth month. But the heading text is just information to display to the client, or it's just a heading for this area or section. So I'm going to add in medical history. Okay, so you then proceed with entering or adding your questions that you would like the client to complete on their medical history. Okay, so again, you just choose what your question might be and then what you would like to have as answered. So if it's just a single line of text that you want them to answer it with, okay, you would then just add in this table or this option here, single line text. Okay, so that's added that field into that area. So what we need to do now is to fill out the field details, because we don't want to leave it as the question being single line text 16. We obviously want to label this or place this question in here. Okay, so for example, the question might be, have you visited or been in hospital recently, something like that. Okay, so as you can see, I'm asking it as a question. So that's how I would type it, with the question mark at the end. Okay, again, you select whether you would like your label to be positioned above or beside the field. Okay, and would you like this question to be mandatory or not? All right. So there isn't another way that you could have created this field. You could have actually selected, a single choice option. Okay, so if I add that in now so that we can show how that would work. So if I was asking that same question, okay. So again, asking that same question there, I'm selecting that I want, the label to be above my answer. Now I need to specify, obviously, the display of my single choice. So my single choice answer will be yes or no. Okay, so do I want this to be vertically or horizontally? Okay, so let's add in my options, which is the last section there at the bottom. So yes, okay, and then select the plus symbol next to that field on the right, okay, or no, and then select the plus symbol to add that. Okay, so notice on the left-hand side in my layout screen how that's added my answers below the question there I've asked. So that could be vertically, or we could select it as displaying horizontally. Okay. So then you continue entering in different questions into your form. The multi-line text just creates a larger box for them to complete or add in their information. Display text. So display text is like a subheading, or maybe you would like to put a display text in underneath the medical history here. Okay, to say, explaining why we might be collecting the medical history, okay, from them. So you could use that table for that, or you could just use that table as a subheading to the medical history heading. Okay, so notice how as well on the layout screen that it's slightly, the heading is in bold font, whereas the display text is in standard font. Okay, so you might have several subheadings to your main heading. Okay, your multiple choice. So your multiple choice obviously is slightly different to your single choice, because it does allow them to select multiple options for their answers rather than a single option of yes or no. Okay, so that's where your multiple choice might come in handy. So for example, if we're creating a form where we're asking the skin type, how they feel their skin type is, or what they feel the skin type is, or their hair type, you would be maybe selecting multiple choice if they think, you know, it's oily, but it's also dry, you know, in some areas, okay, or a combination. Same with the hair, you might be entering in, is it oily, normal? So it could be the state of the hair, and also the thickness. You might say, is it thin, fine, thick? So they might have two answers to that questions for you. All right. So again, if you would like to, when create this field, to add the label in, just enter the text into that label text field. Okay, so please describe your skin type. Select again mandatory field and where you would like that label to be positioned, and then enter in your options for the client to complete. Okay, so as you add in your option name, you select the plus symbol so that you can then add another option in. Okay, so I'm just adding a few options there. As you can see, I'm typing it into the options field on the right and then selecting the plus symbol after it. Okay. So this obviously gives them the option to choose two or more. Okay, so they could say that they do feel that they have oily, you know, skin, and then but they're fair-skinned as well. Okay. So if you have entered in an option for this question, but you maybe want to rephrase it or rename it, you would need to remove that option out. Okay, so let's say that I don't want that dark option in there. You would select that minus symbol on the right of the dark option. Okay. If you would like to reorder your options here, you could also reorder them. So maybe you would like fair right at the top. So you would select the plus or the up arrow next to that name, and that would move it upwards, okay, until you're happy with this position. Okay. All right. So so with your terms and conditions, next I'll just explain that area. Okay. So your terms and conditions, once you add that option into your form, you first of all need to place in your heading. Okay, so your heading text, if you could read this, okay, removes that terms and condition text that you saw, but if you are going to have it as terms and conditions, you can just retype this in, terms and conditions. Okay. Now, your option then is to accept waiver via either having them select a checkbox, okay, as you can see on the left-hand side there, I fully understand and agree to the above terms, or would you prefer them to have a signature in that field? Okay, so as you can see, that changed the layout there on the left-hand side so that they could sign underneath the terms and conditions. Okay, so you would then enter in, once you've chosen that option, your terms and conditions, all right? Okay, so as you can see, with entering in your terms and conditions text, there are placeholders that you can add, which would insert your, for example, company name, okay, or it could insert your site name, your registered business name, site address, and number, if you would like to have those fields in your terms and conditions. But obviously you would need to enter them in or add them in at the time of your text is suitable. Okay. So if you need to create your terms and conditions, you just type in terms and conditions here that they would have to accept. Okay, so that displays below the heading text, okay, and obviously before they sign off, or if they were using the checkbox option, before they tick that they fully understand and agree to those terms and conditions. As you can see down the bottom here, you can change that checkbox label as well. So you don't have to have that as "I fully understand and agree to the above terms." You could rename that checkbox label to "I accept," something like that. Okay, so again, that is personalised for you. Okay, excellent. So once you've completed your form, you would then save that form. Okay, so the save is up the top on the right-hand side corner. Okay, and if there is anything amiss, for example, if you haven't completed a label, as you can see, it doesn't allow you to save. It just highlights that so that then you would come back and make sure that you enter that in. So it's trying to stop you from obviously having any errors occur on the form or missing out any headings or text that you have added into the form for that client to complete. Okay. So if we now save that again, that form would save for us. So it takes you back out into your form selection screen once you've completed a form. And there is our form now available in our form selection screen. Now, it's currently not active. As you can see, I still haven't made that active. So that form will still not be available for your staff to use or pull up for the clients to complete. If you are now happy with that form to be available, or if you would like to test it on your device, you would need to open that back up by selecting Edit and selecting Active, okay, and hit Save. All right, so that form is now active and it would now be available to select when you're in the client form screen. Okay, so I'm just going to show you quickly that form and where it is now appearing. So if I open up my Ashgrove location, okay, enter in my shortcut security PIN, okay, I'm just going to do a search for a client so that I can display where that form is now saved. Okay, so let's say, for example, Hannah walked in for her treatment, so we would like her to complete our consultation form. We then need to select client entry next to her name, and here is where we would choose which form she's to complete. Okay, so we would like her to complete the consultation form, so I would select that option and the consultation form would load, and then we would pass the device to Hannah to complete. Okay. So if they try and finish or select done to this form and they haven't completed any of the mandatory fields, notice how it will prompt them to enter those fields. Okay. Okay. So Hannah's completed her form, she's now saved that, and then that information now gets saved to her client history form area in the client online CICs. Okay. So what do we love about the customised forms? One thing, they're great for clinics and spas. They are also very useful though in the hair and beauty industry, okay, because you can ask questions like skin tone, hair type, allergies as well, okay, and collect all of that data from the clients for your use. The perfect tool for collecting signed formal agreements from clients. Okay, so if we're in the clinic industry more so, we might need to be collecting data if they're going to be getting injectables or laser treatments and having them sign off on those treatments before they occur and agreeing to the process and the terms and conditions of your clinic. It also collects the personal details, email, birthdays, etc. And then that automatically updates that information back into your client card form. So there's obviously going to be better client data collection. So therefore it's going to help with your marketing. Okay. There's also then less paperwork and less admin for you and your staff. Okay, so which is it's a big highlight of this. Okay. So today I hope we've learned how we can build your very own form. Okay, how to use some of its most powerful features, terms and conditions, asking your own personalised questions, and some of the benefits of those customised forms. Okay, so we can obviously make it personalised to your business, it suits you, and then it's obviously going to store in the client's history for previous or future review. Okay, so we do have a learning centre as well that you can refer to at any time for any information that we've gone through on the webinars. So we have 2 learning centre videos on these customised forms for you to go back and review. So I'll give you a moment if you would like to either start jotting down that URL, okay, or the easiest way to locate our Learning Centre, if you visit shortcuts.com.au, our website, you can then select on or type in the search field Learning Centre. Okay, and that will find and locate our Learning Centre for you. Okay, if you've missed this link, you can email me. Okay, so my email details are should be in your question or your webinar panel. Okay, so if you would like some more webinar fun, you can definitely register for more webinars that we'll be holding. So again, going to our Shortcuts website, so shortcuts.com.au. Then at the top of our website, you'll notice that there is a tab and it says Webinar. Select on the Webinar tab and that will take you to any upcoming webinars that we are holding, and you can register for those webinars. If you would like to watch any past webinars, we also load those back onto the Shortcuts webpage. Okay, so select or enter into the webinar screen, and then on the right hand side you'll see that there's a webinar library that you can sort through. Any questions on today's webinar or any assistance by the education team, you can contact us directly. Either email us at education@shortcuts.com.au, or you can contact us on 1300 66 7374 and ask to be put through to the education department. So I'd like to thank everyone that attended today and took the time out to sit through this webinar. I hope you've all found this information very helpful and exciting as well, and looking forward to helping anyone set this up in their console. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thank you very much.